Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Hello and welcome to IMP's WWE Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Help the network out by leaving us a 5-star review, give a donation directly through Red Circle, and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. Link is in the description. Order merch from all our shows over at chopped-tees.com. Thank you to Dickie. Read the Social Suplex newsletter. Huge shout out as always to Trish and Tim and everyone who's contributed so far. Listen to the other top-notch shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, and Sam Brown's AEW Match Guide. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp. This is your quick look back at the WWE week that was, and it's Saturday night. Main event, where we've got a very, very interesting week, I'll call it. By interesting, I mean short, to the point. I can be in and out like that. I was a bit worried last week because I thought my recording had gone long, and it really felt like it as I was doing it. But I'm pretty certain that's just me not fully back, not fully recovered yet. Yeah, it turns out it was a bit shorter than I was expecting, and by the time I'd done my editing, I'm like, ooh, this might be getting down. I don't know if because I've kind of gotten used to how I like to edit these shows, but yeah, it wasn't as short as some have been in the past, but it wasn't the longest, because really not a lot happened. So you'll be happy to know that I've got even less to talk about this week. Because Jesus Christ. We've got Saturday night's main event, which was received incredibly poorly. I mean, I don't know about the hardcore WWE fans. Again, I'm not on Twitter, so I don't really know what the reception is over there. I'm on Blue Sky, which is mainly AEW. I am following the WWE thing on it, but it's nowhere near as busy as the AEW one. But I did see that it had got a 3 out of 10 on Cage Match. Like, oh boy. Like, oh, I'm in for a good one. But I was fully aware that the past 2 were just character showcases. So it was time for me to find out if the rating was folk not expecting it to be that kind of show yet, or was it genuinely just that bad? You'll be happy to know that when I looked at the comments on YouTube, I think it's for markets outside of America. It's just for free on YouTube. Like, I don't need to go to anything to do with Hulu or Peacock or whatever it's on. It's just there. It's just right there on YouTube. And I could read all of the comments, every single one of them, talking about, oh, it was a shame for my adverts to be broken up by bits of wrestling. And there's me just sitting there, just like, oh, the same comments that Saturday Night Live gets. It turns out it's just how NBC likes it. It doesn't matter what product it's on, it always gets the same responses. But yeah, it's me saying the exact same thing I'm going to say yet again. Folks, stop watching WWE shows live. How many times do I need to say it? Same point. For me, Saturday night's main event was definitely above a 3 out of 10. However, if I watched it live, I can 100% see why it got that rating. In a way, I'll give it 2 different ratings. 3 out of 10 if you watched it live, because there's just so many adverts. If you have ever watched Saturday Night Live, then you know how that feels. However, for me, I was able to just skip past all of it, and I got through the show incredibly quickly. Because on YouTube, it's 2 hours long, but they haven't cut out the ad breaks. It just says, we are in a commercial. So I've obviously had to skip through the timeline straight to it. So, no big deal, really. It does mean the show was way shorter for me. And there was also Monday Night Raw, which was the shortest Raw I've watched so far. Like, last week they had the injury. This week, what's your excuse? You didn't have anything. To be fair, I'm not really complaining. I like the shows being shorter, especially when I know they broadcast at 3 hours and I'm sitting there being like, Seth Rollins doesn't come out to the ring till 1 hour 38 remaining. This is fine. This is absolutely fine. Anyway, let's jump on over to Tampa, Florida for our 2 shows. Because I don't really want to talk about the main event because it features a certain transphobe, misinformation spreader, fascist supporter that I've kind of made a stance to just not really talk about if I don't have to. So I'm going to have to talk about it in some way, but it does mean that's not going to be my main focus. Instead, I'm going to focus on the steel cage match between Drew McIntyre and Damien Priest. That's what we're going to kick off with, and that's what I'm going to steal the soundbite from. So let's jump on over to Tampa, Florida for a steel cage.
With Seth Concerto! That is the same move that he used to eliminate his mentor, the man who invented the Concerto, Edge, a number of years ago. And tonight, he used uses it against his arch enemy.
With this match, I was genuinely interested. How do you play a steel cage match on a character showcase event that's full of ad breaks so you never have a flow of greater than 4 minutes? How do you get people invested in a steel cage match? Well, you ignite the fight right before they're even in the cage, chairs in there immediately, and you get straight to the clobbering. Use throwing somebody into the cage as an ad break spot, then return immediately, hitting a finisher like the South of Heaven. Then you build into a suplex from the cage wall within the minute of hitting that finisher. All the high spots you usually build towards that are just now here, flown right into. Jesse Ventura described it as 2 bulls charging about, and that's pretty much an apt description. You just don't have the time for anything else. So by the time I typed that, we'd already flown past a Claymore kickout and McIntyre hitting Priest's own South of Heaven. So yes, they started hitting each other's finishers. This is a WWE match. Slowed down for a brief half minute to get over Damien's fighting to keep going, flowing into a repeat of the chair propped into the corner for a Claymore spot from WrestleMania, this time missing because we've got more finishers to not score pinfalls. Instead, we flung into a concerto ending, with Cole directly referencing Edge and calling him Priest's mentor. The ending, I guess, was to try and make Priest feel like a badass, but Jesse seemed to be echoing the crowd sentiment, as walking out the cage door for the win isn't exactly badass. I know what they were trying to do. They had the camera angle of Priest looking over his shoulder at his slain foe, and then he just strolls on out there, and they're like, what's more badass than that? And I'm with Jesse. This rule sucks. It's one of the things I absolutely love about AEW's cage matches. They immediately, because people have been conditioned for ages for steel cage matches to be like this that we saw here on Saturday night's main event, where you got the escape rules, and that just never made any sense to me. Like, is this a heated feud or not? And they tried to do the escape win in a heated way, but Jesse seemed to echo the crowd's reaction when Jesse was meant to be playing the heel, like the contrarian, the person against it, being like, no, he's not being cool, he should get the pinfall like a man. But the crowd are kind of reacted like Jesse was. So that kind of just like, maybe it's not exactly worked. But for me, it's the escape rules have always just been a bit naff, and that's what I loved about AEW's version. They brought it back and immediately it's like, no, there's none of that. None of that escaping to win, that doesn't mean anything. But yes, this was a 100% just another character showcase show. That's why I'm not going to give it like a 3 out of 10. It was the exact show that the other two have already been, so they've already told you what kind of shows they're going to be. The next one is likely going to be another character showcase. I don't know how well this was received outside of like the social media bubbles. I've only seen the cage match rating in terms of like people's ratings for it. But the crowd are white hot for the ending and the like returns that happened and everything. So they were invested in what was happening with the live crowd. But yeah, again, there were so many ad breaks. It's actually ludicrous. That's why I was saying it's like 4-minute spots. But that leads into the character showcase thing, where you're not really getting invested in the action. You're more there just to see a character get showcased on a big Saturday night stage. But to say at the start of the show, it's like the style from the past with modern day sensibilities. It's using the way that those older shows used to be, but you're doing it with modern talent in the modern production way. But wrestling's evolved since then. And having like 4-minute bits in between ad breaks, maybe in the 80s, especially with much slower matches, like the action in the ring is building so much. Like nowadays, it's nowhere near enough time to properly get through it. You have to like blast to what you get into. So it does mean it's a show where you don't particularly care about the action, and as soon as you get to a point where you might care about the action, that's because it's going to an ad break. You can sense it, you get that feeling. But anyway, let's jump on over to the opening of the show. I'll just go through it in order now. Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker versus CM Punk and Sami Zayn. Big boy Bronson's back by Bron Breakker's side. Like, it's the Killer Bees. It's Big Boy Bronson and Bron Breakker. The Killer Bees, a fitting timely 80s reference. If you don't know, the Killer Bees were I'll call it a corny 80s tag team. The match itself was fine enough. Rapidly into Bron's announced desk dive for the quick ad break, then quickly into Punk's hot tag, and finally Sami's dance with Breakker, because we very quickly got to get to another ad break. And in this first match, I immediately was like, okay, I'm starting to get it. Just don't watch this live. Stop doing it. The match was like they were flowing in lightning bursts whilst on air, then taking a few minutes to breathe during the ad breaks, because 2 advertisement pauses in a 15-minute bout is quite the regular amount. Bronson Reed eventually out through the crowd off a Heyman ref distraction and charged Punk through the barricade. Angry Sami shouting like the lady in the cat meme, pointing at, oh, what are you doing? He was then broken by a spear for the baddie win, and it was CM Punk who was on the end of the post-match beatdown and tsunami. Don't worry, he got his sneaky attack on Monday Night Raw. But this was the match the crowd were hot for the bursts that I got of the match. You would get quite a fast pace, get invested in it, ad break, return, they do a quick flash, ad break, return, do a quick flash, Bronson Reed returns, the post-match angles. Like, geez, the pace of this is mental. It's absolutely mental. But the crowd are white hot for it. They're cheering for everything. Just as a viewer at home, especially as a regular viewer, it feels so odd to see it just broken up into that tiny bite-sized chunks like this. It's easily digestible, bite-sized wrestling. I don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, the shows are very easy to watch, but it's in that vein of just like, you're not really invested in anything. And the Ebert Siskel review thing, when they reviewed Godzilla, and the line they used was, the most savage thing I've heard is, it convinces you are watching a movie. And I've used that before for like when you're just absolutely knackered when you come back from work and you just want to put something on, maybe whilst you're eating your dinner, and you put something on like a murder show, and, you know, passes the time whilst you're eating your food. You maybe watch a light story. It convinces you're watching TV. You don't need much else. Like, it's fine. It's fine. These Saturday Night Main Event shows, yes, they are character showcases, but they feel more like that because there's just like zero investment whilst I'm watching it, because I've got really no opportunity to. It convinces me I'm watching wrestling. I didn't watch this until, what day is it? I didn't watch this until Tuesday, Wednesday. For me, it was quite a long gap till I watched this, and I had watched Double or Nothing. Like, I had days to digest Double or Nothing as well before I touched this. So to go from that, which is just so thick and full, that is our full HBO drama over there. And then I go over here and it's just like, you know, Law and Order. It's not the same. I'm watching NCIS compared to this such depth that you're getting over in the Double or Nothing show. I come here for the lightest of light entertainment in a way. I'm basically watching a quiz show. Like, it's just so it's so nothing. So again, I fully understand how someone would have given that a 3 out of 10, but me coming into it fully expecting that, knowing what the show is, even though I'm talking about it like this in a joke way, I'm even inclined to maybe double that rating to like a 6. At this point, that's what these shows are. There isn't really any expectation from me for them to be any different. So because they are nailing what they are trying to do, I can't make them down too long. It's just that what they're trying to do is just so nothing. Like, I'm not going to crap on the people who are making those NCIS shows. Like, they know what they're doing. They know what market they're going for. They're nailing it. My brother worded it when we were watching one of the shows kind of similar like it. The phrase he used when he was, it feels like we're giving up. It's like, I understand what you mean. We'd rather watch something we actually got something out of. But that's why I understand the low rating, because what are you going to get out of this show? This is so little. Anyway, let's jump on over to the next showcase. Zelina Vega versus Chelsea Green in a Women's United States Championship match. I remember the last time I covered a Saturday Night's Main Event, and I did consider stopping, just given the rapid-fire character showcase nature of them. It's like, well, what's the point of me reviewing these? But then I saw the low score for this one. It's like, nah, I've got to. But you know what? It turns out, when I'm watching these, I'm not invested, but I find WWE matches with the faff cut out very easy to watch. And it's kind of what I'm hinting at when I was talking about it convinces you're watching wrestling. It's very easy to watch. Like, I'm not super invested in what's happening, but it's very easy to watch and get through. Not live though. I can't imagine trying to watch this show live with ad breaks every 4 minutes. I cannot imagine. It does mean I don't have a lot to say about the matches, because when the entire point is just a showcase and not much else, there's not really much to recap apart from the big moves at the end. Vega showed how easy Ray makes the 619 look, getting kind of caught in the ropes, and on the spin ended up busting Chelsea's nose. Crowd did boo after it, but they didn't care and were fully into the finish for the Avalanche Code Red off the corner. And swiftly into John Cena versus R-Truth. I did enjoy R-Truth doing his own Cena entrance like he's at FanFest, with his Von Cena t-shirt and filmed like he's the man and all. Like, good bit. Then right into the beating. Fully down for that. I loved every second of it. And the crowd were fully into every step of R-Truth hitting the moves of doom. The only downside being that Cena didn't then kick out at one, which is kind of, that's how, in my head, I'm like, okay, yeah, R-Truth does all this. He hits all of Cena's moves. Cena kicks out at one, beats him up. Instead, we got Cena kicks out at two, goes rolls to the outside to sell the offense. And I'm like, okay, they did hint during the week of R-Truth talking about, I will beat you up if I have to. Like, just reminding us a bit that he is an employed WWE wrestler. So maybe he's up for competitive scenarios. Maybe that makes sense. But the way that this Truth character is presented in ring, I don't really want my world champion, my top guy, selling the offense to the outside. However, you need to get Cena to the outside somehow so he can grab the title and do that. But when he's got that title, he pauses when he sees Ron's face, faking out the power of friendship instead into a kick to the dick. Double A for the finish, and then power on into the post-match title belt hit. The commentary tried to sell us on how much everyone's hating Cena acting like this, when right behind them is a full audience chanting, "Thank you, Cena." Just, nope. very, very difficult to buy into what you're saying, that there's a very strong separation there. What I'm hearing you say and what I'm seeing with my eyes do not connect. There's a dissonance. There's quite a strong dissonance there. They'll continue telling their story, but the Cena heel turn flat out isn't connecting like they'd hope. We're already right back into the standard split support for him. Maybe there's something they can do, or they just go with it till their beat they're trying to get to, which for me is him taking that title all the way to the end of the year, or you rattle through his dates and have a long period where he's not there. Something like that. You build to that one shot, that one opportunity or something like that. There are different ways you can do this, but I'm expecting the most standard. Then finally, the main event, the World Heavyweight Championship between Jey Uso and the Transphobe. This here is my compromise of the guy being in the main event. It's last on my running order, and as through it as swiftly as possible. To be fair, that's pretty much how the match was booked as well. A nice touch that this main event for Jey was taking place 15 years to the day of his debut. 10 minutes on the bell and we were off air with a post-match angle, and you can bet your ass there was another ad break within that 10 minutes, so just like everything else on this show, there's really no time at all and you just have to blast through your stuff. Corner post into a right hook fade out, leading into Jey securing the win, until Cena pulled the ref out the ring and started laying into Uso. Earlier in the show, John had a wee chinwag with the world champion backstage, all building up to Cody Rhodes making his return in Dusty's country to save Uso's title. Jey scoring the win, then post-match Cody grabbing the mic to let us know the four of them will be in a tag match in 2 weeks at Money in the Bank. Yep, that's right. In this colder period for WWE, they are running so many shows. So many in such a short period. We go from Saturday night's main event, in 2 weeks it's Money in the Bank, then we've got the Saudi stuff, we've got King of the Ring, so we've just got a run of just every 2 weeks there's something. And Monday Night Raw, Liv Morgan was just well, I'm going to go talk to the people in charge so I can get a Money in the Bank qualifying match, and I'm like, we better hurry up. There really aren't that many shows, we're almost immediately right into Money in the Bank. But yeah, that's my review of Saturday night's main event. Does it deserve the 3? Yes, if you watched it live. If you watched it in the aftermath, I'd probably give it a 6, but that's just because I know it's nearly what it's trying to do. It's just that what it's trying to do is so nothing. I do think my describing it through just your run-of-the-mill murder show, it's I was convinced I was watching a wrestling show, and I didn't really get any other emotion past that. Cody Rhodes returned, Bosman Reed returned, we got the fleshing out of certain things, but really built up on a Monday Night Raw when they've actually got the time to talk about stuff. But yeah, these are character showcases. The exact same review I gave for the last one, and I expect for the next time they do Saturday night's main event, I'm expecting just the same kind of reaction to it, and I'll be stood here being yeah, it's a character showcase. I don't know how many times I need to run this show for other people to start getting that. It's a character showcase. Don't know what to tell you. So yeah, it is what it is. Again, me going full Meltzers, it is what it is. We move on. And move on we do, because I've got a Monday Night Raw to talk about from Tampa, Florida as well. 1 hour 42 minutes edited Netflix version for me, 1 hour 38 by the time the first entrance hit. Only 2 weeks of Money in the Bank, these shows are rattling forward at such a rate, so let's jump on over to the opening promo between Seth and the Killer Bees. All three lads in shades with Paul Heyman by their side to kick off the show. Heyman hyped each man up, explaining Reed's inclusion before finally giving the time over to Seth with, "Ladies and gentlemen, acknowledge Seth freaking Rollins." A great reaction from the crowd, and just your little reminder of where this is all eventually headed. Possibly SummerSlam, but even if I do like the idea of this Seth challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship by then instead. By the time Seth gets the mic, we are about 15 minutes into the show at this point, by the way. Oh yes, 1 hour 42 and 50 minutes in. Nothing's happened. The crowd chanting "You sold out" to Seth. Hooray for conditioned baddie turn responses, because Seth's response to this is 100% accurate. Sold out to who? Myself? It's that's the thing that you chant to the new guy when he's turned to a bad guy, turned to a heel. Doesn't context apply at all. It doesn't make any sense with the things that have happened. Really brought it back on track well as well, Seth, with "You're questioning my integrity." I've been really impressed with his crowd work since WrestleMania, before doing it again by getting him to chant his song, so he can make his point about the crowd being morons not knowing their left from their right. I was watching this being he is just directing this crowd and twisting back. They're not making any sense, and he made it make sense. It's such good work from Seth there. The main aim to put himself up on the pedestal as the guy to become World Heavyweight Champion and direct the company down the right course. And that's it. That's your lot of 20 minutes to get to that bit. Setting Seth up for his Money in the Bank qualifying match, so we might as well just jump straight into that. And just like the other qualifiers this year, give him plenty of time to dance and build into a hot final few minutes. Every lad in that ring was a trusted veteran to do so. It's the benefit, I guess, of like SmackDown being 3 hours and one like Raw being nice and free around that 3 hour mark. You have got all the time in the world to just let these matches flow. And the flow was fun enough without really kicking up a gear, but really it was that final run that pulled me in. The teaming up of Seth and Finn and the quick back and forth of the aftermath worked a treat on me, especially with it being unclear who was going to win out of Seth and Sami. Having Zayn get stopped by Cross backstage with, "You know you'll never win the world title, right?" was a perfect final staging, because now there's a reason both he or Seth could lose. The final 3 minutes especially kicked up the pace, focusing on one man's run only for the third to get cut off. Then when that couldn't happen, out come the interferences. Off of Sami's Helluva kick to Seth, the Killer Bees were out to stop the pin. Dom Mysterio threw in the chair, just not very well, and Balor got his head stomped right into it. Rollins with the win, but before the post-match feting could ensue, Punk's music hit and he snuck in from the crowd to hit GTS Rollins and escape before the Bees could sting him. I've just realised the amount of beep-ons I can do now. Yes, because of my crappy, stupid nickname from them. See, it wasn't all negative this week. I got something long-term great out of this. The amount of stuff. Send in your beep-ons. I will use them. I've got the space and the time. I'm gonna need them. But yeah, it felt like a standardly fun triple threat main event, but that final gear where they were just cutting each other off, and when Sami's finally hit Seth, and Balor is not getting there. Like, Seth has just taken him out and then just got caught by Sami. Like, Sami has this one. That's when the Killer Bees come out. The mighty, amazing spear. Of course, I think I forgot to say as well that Jey Uso ran out. He got speared by Breakker. But in all the chaos, Seth ended up getting the win. So even though he qualifies for Money in the Bank, he still loses the night because Punk is the one who runs on down and hits him with the GTS and escapes before the Bees can get him. So it was a perfectly fine way to end the show. It felt like another kind of nothing Raw, but both Money in the Bank qualifying matches were really fun. Liv Morgan's return was received pretty well as well. The Lyra Valkyria Becky Lynch promo was received pretty well. There's some positive stuff on this show, even if when I was watching it, the Seth stuff is by far the most over. Like, Seth and CM Punk is the most over thing on this show. It's not even close. It's the same thing I was talking about for the last 2 weeks, where this is white hot and the crowds are going crazy for it. Punk is getting incredible pops every single week. Middle of the show, the crowd couldn't give less of a shit. They just could not care. It is so quiet at times during the middle of these shows. Tampa, Florida, to their credit, they were a loud crowd. It felt like at times that they weren't given a lot of stuff to really cheer for. Or for stuff like the tag scene, they've kind of been told to not really care about it that much. But Tampa, they did respond relatively well. Like, it's not like the past 2 weeks where they were like dead. They weren't dead, they were just kind of muted. So I'm not massively praising what this show did. And I'm like, yeah, the crowd wasn't dead. They were still sounded a bit muted during the middle of this show. But what they were loud for was the other Money in the Bank qualifier, Penta versus Chad Gable versus Dragon Lee. A perfectly lovely, fast-paced little WWE telly match. Gable versus the Luchas again, ahead of his WWE and AAA match with Vikingo. And oof, before the ad break with Penta attempting a Widow's Peak to Lee and underhook driver to Gable at the same time. Like, it looked great before he hit it. But Chad seemed to just slip down before Penta sat, and the man just landed on his face whilst bent back a bit as Penta sat down. It just looked really awkward and there was immediate concern for Gable. Fortunately, okay, but it was certainly a classic awkward kind of Penta moment. There's the two sides to Penta. There's the side that everyone's fallen in love with so incredibly quickly, that everything from the presentation down to the moveset to everything. Then there's the side which really tries to innovate and come up with something that you've never seen before. I've never seen this before. But it can sometimes come off, it's either come off amazing, or because it is trying to be so innovative, it comes off as a bit clunky. But in days gone by, you would see WWE fans, or stands on Twitter, they would be seeing Penta do this in AEW and go, oh, the AEW is proof that they're amateur. Well, now they're seeing that exact same guy do the exact same stuff on their show. It moves along. And to be fair, like, the style of this match was something, especially when it kicked up, it really was into that super fast-paced stuff that I just love that style. But no worries for the awkwardness, because after the break, you've got your Vikingo ringside distraction for Gable and the insane dive over the announce desk from Lee. The crowd were then into every beat of Penta and Lee's striking and murdering flow soon after. And an awesome corner toss from Gable sent us into such a fun finish. Like, genuinely, the way that Lee hurled himself with Gable's momentum, like that flying into the corner just looked absolutely amazing. Gable went for the moonsault. Vikingo comeuppance caught him and dangled him. Diving stomp from Lee, landing right in the path of Penta for a menacing destroyer and driver for the win. With Gable bloody afterwards, so one of Vikingo's kicks must have caught him in the head. But the crowd were so hot and they were so happy that Penta had won as well. He's gotten over so quickly. But that immediately takes us into the other notes. And it's not really a show that I'm anywhere near as negative on as I was last week. Like, last week I was just like, this show is nothing. What's going on? There are segments in here that aren't nothing, that do do very clearly progress stuff in ways that I do like, and segments that on paper are fine. There's just a lot of the crowd not particularly caring. Also, the corner entrance that was used for the Saturday night's main event setup was left the same here. No idea if it was also used for NXT Battleground. Like, I ain't watching that shit when the reason it even exists is to take attention away from one of AEW's biggest and best shows of the year. But obviously, I'll watch the bigger and better show. Like, if you're putting on a show to compete and try and drag viewers away, because the show that is on is a bigger and better show, so you're trying to take some people away to make it not seem like as big a success, I'm obviously going to watch the bigger and better show. Especially in this internet age. Why would I watch NXT first? Why would I do this? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. That's me as a wrestling fan who is like fully in on the wrestling and the different companies and things. Like, I look at this, I'm just like, I am not the person that's going to ever be dragged away, because I'm obviously going to watch the bigger show. After some yeeting with Tampa, World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso started to cut his promo on Cena and the transphobe, till Gunther's music hit to remind us of the next challenger. With so many shows, each within 2 weeks of the last, they're just having to spin multiple plates and fuse on top of each other. Gunther's promo reflecting that back onto the champion pretty well. The World Tag Team Championships were defended by New Day in a triple tag against the Creeds and War Raiders. I'll add this to my list of mid-card matches the crowd were just so muted during. A running issue on Raw right now, where this does mark 3 weeks in a row, but Tampa were by far the loudest of those three, as I said earlier. The Judgment Day drama. The build hit its next beat with Liv Morgan returning from her movie shoot. Finn Balor with a cheeky Irish grin the whole time as his Roxanne plan started to come together. Carlito's line, "You've got to stop eating her nuggets, bro." Rightfully, no reaction. Like, they said it and everybody paused as if there would be the crowd laughing at it, when I heard nothing. Maybe there was a rumble and a grumble. I didn't have my headphones on, waiting for an Amazon delivery. But it seemed so correct that got no reaction. Later in the show, Liv got her return match against Kairi, but Perez's interruption confusion actually ended up costing rather than helping, with Liv watching the Rodriguez and Perez argument a little too long. Kairi was then able to recover enough and roll Morgan up when she jumped into the ropes to hit the Oblivion. Cue lots of grumpy face shots back and forth. Backstage, Finn all smiles as Liv took her frustrations out on Raquel. I hope you like this Judgment Day drama, because they're going to be running this all summer. Yay! Just like last year. Yay! It never ends. Rusev, remember him, destroyed Tozawa in no time to a muted reaction, but they finally popped for Sheamus's music. And you know what? These two having a clobber is a lot more like the kind of return feud I would have wanted for the Bulgarian. Ending on a positive, Lyra Valkyria cut a promo with the announcement of her and Becky having a second title match at Money in the Bank. Finally, a program that seems to be working for the fans' investment in Lyra. She's great and they finally give a shit. Love Lynch's character work too, fully breaking in the face of a new Irish star rising. But that's when I like more. When I see the amount of stuff that is on this show, really, in terms of the amount that I care about and seemingly the amount the fans care about, when I see 1 hour 40 and then the first 20 minutes is also a promo which you could have got done in half the time, I'm like, you know what, the length of this show is actually fitting for the amount of content you have. Because in reality, you had your promo which then fed into the main event, so whatever, but by the time you finished your opening promo, we were 20 minutes into the show, or we're back to 2009. Randy Orton comes out and cuts a promo and sets up an angle for the first 20 minutes. We're back there, baby. But it meant when it felt like the show had actually gotten going. There's only, for me, 80 minutes left, and that feels about right for the amount of content on this show. Because the stuff in the middle, there's just not much investment, really. You can hear it in the crowds. 3 weeks on the bounce. They've just been quiet when it's the guys in the mid-card. There's some stuff that is really working. The Becky and Lyra stuff is really working. I reckon they're going to have a great time with Sheamus and Rusev. That finally might be able to get some Rusev reactions after working with Sheamus. But it's almost like everything else is just in a completely other world in terms of the fan investment compared to the main angle with Seth and Punk. It's just not close. They are so invested in those two, reacting so loudly. Obviously, one of the other things to care about Rhea Ripley, she wasn't on this week, but is setting up her Money in the Bank run to then go through EO. So those two are definitely over. Just weren't on this show. But yeah, the shows themselves, they're in a bit of a lull period, and they're also running so many shows. So when fan investment is kind of at its lowest, and you can, I don't mean in terms of people tuning in or whatever, but as far as I can tell, those numbers are also down. But when you're watching the show, fans are still turning up. They're filling up those buildings. I think it was last week we were talking about, you could evidently see in the upper section there were some empty seats. No issue like that at all this week. But when you're watching the show, they just become so quiet during the middle of it. It's like they just don't care, which feels so odd for a product that's meant to be so hot. I feel like it maybe is sticking out because we have come after a year where it seemed like everybody was over, everything they were doing was just working and clicking, and this year you're starting to see cracks. It feels more like it's the type of cracks that we won't actually see the effects of for at least half a year. So maybe in November, December, you might start to see a little bit of I don't know, business downturn or something, especially with ticket prices so high. It might seem something changed, like maybe ticket prices might go down a little bit. I don't know. That's me saying that. Suddenly fully aware of that it's complete naivety given like what we've seen with UFC. No, it's going to stay as it is. But it is just, we're starting to see some cracks, and we're starting to see things shift and twist a bit. Like that era last year where AEW were just finding their groove and started to hit a really good groove for the second half of the year, whereas WWE were just on a white hot streak the entire time. But it's almost seemed like as soon as WrestleMania was done, it's just lulled. People's fans' investment has just lulled. The qualities of the shows have just kind of hit of a bleh. And this normally happens around this period anyway, but this year feels especially just meh. But I can't deny, fans are massively into Rhea Ripley. They're massively into Seth Rollins and CM Punk. They will be into Roman when he comes back. They are hugely into Cody. He's obviously not been there. He only returned on Saturday night's main event. So there are things that fans are invested in. There's just a lot that they're not. So, and for me, that's the big difference from last year. Last year, it seemed to, the positivity was in everybody and every segment the fans were reacting. This year, the mid-cards are starting to not get their reactions. They're only really caring about the top star stuff. And, that was the early noughties. And that was the late noughties. That was the early 2010s. It's like, it wasn't a great period for WWE. Obviously, the production and the writing and everything in this period is far, far better than that era already. It's not even a question. But in terms of fan investment, we're starting to see those cracks happen. They probably leave happy because, again, Punk's getting amazing pops every time and they really care about Seth, about Ripley. So, and those are the characters that are main eventing every week. So they leave them happy. It's just during the middle, you can feel it. But it's especially odd coming off an AEW show. Like I watch an AEW show where the fans are just happy to see the wrestling and they have a lovely time. Then you watch WWE and they're just sat in their hands not caring for the vast majority of the show. And it just hits you that this wasn't happening this time last year. Even though it's the same style, even though it's WWE. And there's always been that critique of fans sitting on their hands. But last year it didn't feel it. The crowds were loud for it. But they're just not this year. Things can change once there's with Cody coming back and with certain things building up towards SummerSlam as we leave this period, because really when Money in the Bank happens, normally now we get to King of the Ring, which then directly builds to SummerSlam. That road starts to build up again, and they're probably going to hype SummerSlam up huge just because of the 2-night thing. So I am expecting just a bit of a tide to swing, and that'll be the real test for me. How does that tide swing when we actually get there? Anyway, that brings me to the end of the show. I'll be back this time next week to talk about more WWE. So thank you for listening, liking in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never taken for granted. Send me your B puns, I'm going to need them. And I will be back this time next week to talk about WWE, so you don't have to watch it. Hooray. So that's a video to you. Adios.
This podcast is supported by Talkspace.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.